This is Adam Ross with the Florida Tennis Podcast. This is a lucky, lucky night. And, you can't ask for a better guest than Craig Shapiro. He's already showing the latest magazine. Thank you, Craig. What an honor and a pleasure and a privilege to have you on the show. How are you doing tonight?
Hey man, we walk it like we talk it. It's nice to see you in over the Zoom airwaves, and thank you for having me. I am good. I've got Zverev is losing to Kekmanovic on in the background in Acapulco, I believe, and all is well.
Well, we may be simpatico because I may have that on right above my head. It's possible. I'm not divulging that, but that match might be right above my head there. But I'm going to give you my full focus, Craig. Um, I want to start by introducing you just a bit. Okay, you're the host of the Craig Shapiro podcast, which is unbelievable. Everybody watch that podcast, subscribe to that podcast. But very important, you're a tennis insider, which is kind of what makes you different than most podcasters. You know what's going on. That attracted me about the show. I love that about your show. And you noticed right, well, first of all, I noticed right away when you jumped on one of the nicest sweaters I have seen. That is a Diodora throwback. Can you talk a little, just, oh, what, that is beautiful. Tell us a little bit about that.
Diodora, for quite some time has, paid the bills, and we have a very fluid relationship with them. The Italian brand, generally speaking, the majority of their stuff's made in Italy. This sweater is part of a distribution I've had for quite some time. It's the sweater is undefeated actually, and it's part of a collab with the designer Leo Colaccio. I don't know who he is. I haven't researched that. I probably could have done a better job, but in Los Angeles, when the sun goes down, it gets cold. I know that the same happens in Florida sometimes around this time of year. So that's where I'm at. It's a little nippy. I was in a t-shirt and shorts, and now I put on the cardigan.
Well,
But thank you for the compliment. I appreciate it.
I just want to say for everybody watching out there, if you ever see me wearing that sweater, it might mean that Craig is looking for a sweater. We're in the same place at the same time because that thing is choice primo beautiful. So thank you for that. But I'm wearing my Delray Beach Open t-shirt. Just got back from the Delray Beach Open. We talked a little bit offline. It was an amazing tournament. Sebi Korda over Tommy Paul in a windswept final, but it was a great tournament leading up to that. The doubles were Austin Krajicek, American, and Nikola Mekchik over Benjamin Kate, young American, and Ryan Shegerman, two young Americans. Kate, coached by the great David McPherson, was the practice partner with Davis Cup team where he trained with Krajicek and the Bryan brothers. Any thoughts on the Delray Beach Open or any part of that you saw, Craig?
Well, I could tell you that, I saw Sebi Korda lose to Michael Zhang, the number one from Colombia, the two-time NCAA champion in Australia. He lost a rough five-setter. He went down 2-0 quick, and then took Zhang into the deep water. I was literally talking to Matt Futterman from the New York Times as that match was moving into the fifth set. And Zhang somehow, he flipped the script one more time. He beat Seb. Seb left there. Seb went to San Diego to Ryan Redondo's challenger. I watched him beat Kipson, I believe, pretty handily. Kipson now just had a big win a night or two ago. So Seb worked his way. He put some matches together. He lost to Zach Zvida, who I don't know if you've seen him play. The kid's like 5'7", 5'8", 135 pounds. He's a pigeon. He's one of the cleanest ball strikers you'll ever see. And Korda lost to him there. Korda makes his way to Delray, and Seb now has put together a bunch of quality wins. So. Listen, I'm a big supporter of Sebi Korda. Part of my origin story is that I strung rackets on the tour, and I have the distinction of having strung his father's rackets when his father won the Australian Open. So I was with Peter then, and Peter somehow has become this sort of elusive character in tennis. He doesn't do any interviews and such, but I have a sort of a soft place in my black coal heart for Seb Korda. I want him to do well, and I was happy to see that. He's been mired by injuries the last few years, and hopefully he puts it together.
Well, you're
And
making, so go
sorry,
ahead, Craig. No,
no, no,
please.
no, no, please.
No, Craig, we want to hear you, not me. Go ahead.
No, no, I hope that he makes his way to the desert. The tennis in the desert's always kind of weird tennis. Something about the altitude and the air, and just something about the desert. The weather can kick up crazy. I don't think Seb is a particularly good wind player. He's like so smooth and silky that I think that when he sees a lot of wind and uh, when the weather kind of kicks up, I don't think that that suits him. But we'll see. I'd love to see him play well and get back up into the top 20. I'd love to see him play well and make some money moves this year.
Well, that may have, it's a couple of things to break down. That may have changed a little bit for Sebi Korda because the final was very windy.
Oh, is that right?
And Sebi handled the conditions well. Tommy Paul had a bit of trouble with it. Sebi attributed his ability to handle the conditions to the fact that he had trained in Florida with his dad, Peter, and Peter had said, just get the ball into the island. So get it into the island. So that's one aspect of it. And Tommy moved so well the whole event, and it was kind of sad to see him not prevail. Although I do love Sebi Korda too. I'm glad you mentioned Peter because the tournament is intimate enough where I did get to interview some of the coaches, and I did go to interview Peter. He was nice, didn't want to say a lot. He was a man of a few words. I did congratulate him on the victory, but it is nice because Peter was out there and that was nice to see. So yeah.
You're one of the most talented players in that back end of the 90s. When he was playing well, there was nothing like it. He looked like a pencil, and he he won a lot of matches. When he was playing well, he was something special to watch play.
He had that
I,
special scissor kick when he won, which Sebi imitated, which when he won the junior, I don't think it was a junior Australian Open, and Nelly, I think, has imitated it. So the whole and I'm blanking on the other Korda sister, but they're brilliant golfers. Sebi would be the worst in the family, but they all mirrored that famous Korda scissor kick when
yeah,
they won. Um, Couple of things. It is a tournament that gives you great accessibility, and I know you love. I believe you love tennis memorabilia. You're interested in the history of tennis. I played in the Legends event right before it started, and I always try to bring something fun. And I love the Bryan brothers. I love the Jensen brothers. So I'm just going to show you. Got a chance to hit with those guys. Had them sign the giant Babylon shoe. This is signed by the Jensen brothers and the Bryan brothers. Thought you'd get a kick out of that.
fun.
Um, During an interview with Francis Tiafo, I showed him his bobblehead, and he had a great line. He says, "I'm glad you have it, as long as you don't have it on your nightstand." I told him I couldn't talk about it, and I did get a chance to talk to Michael Chang, which is very interesting because he wins the French Open at 17. He's coaching a very young Leonard Tien at 20. And there are some threads and similarities between those two in the sense of the thought processes, and Michael talked about that, and that's kind of the subject of an article that I just wrote that's going to be in the next issue. But I do have the Chang bobblehead. But your thoughts on some of these great players, like Michael Chang, um, Brian Shelton, even Christian Rude, Peter Carter, what do they bring to their charge to the younger generation in your estimation?
I don't know. I wouldn't want to be traveling around in pro tennis tour with my dad. I can say that. So I don't have a great frame of reference to. to know that, aside from the fact that, I think Ben has become a big star, whether people like that or not, very quickly. And I think that, he's interested in keeping it in the family. Um, I don't know that Casper Ruud has benefited with his dad. His dad is a very intense guy. And I don't know that Seb has Peter around all that much, to be honest with you. I'm a big proponent of seeing these kids fly their wings, leaving the parents at home. Um, Now, Michael Chang, that's a different story. I think Michael Chang on Lerner's bag I think that's really one of the most underreported stories that's happening. I mean, Lerner Tien left USC after very quickly because he wasn't getting better there. He left. He turned pro. Um, I had the British Davis Cupper, former world number 21, Dan Evans on my show, the past off season, and I mentioned it to Dan, and he said, "Oh, I didn't know that Michael Chang was coaching Lerner Tien, but let me tell you, I practiced with Lerner Tien when he was 16 years old. Paul Anacone set up a practice for me at Carson in advance of Indian Wells. I was in LA for a day or two. He said Lerner Tien, quote, didn't miss a ball. So,
Well,
Lerner Tien doesn't miss. Michael Chang didn't really miss. And, Michael's got that kid humming. I saw Michael Chang. You know, I saw him in Paris with Lerner. With uh I saw him insignificantly in New York. I saw him through the year, and then, when I saw him in Australia, he was locked in. And that's fun to see. It's fun to see the legends of tennis back matriculating in like a kind of meat and potatoes way, I would say. I think it's fun to see, Michael Chang, bouncing in the players' lounge, getting ready to like hit with his player. I thought that was like kind
yeah.
of gave me the chills, to be honest with you.
No, I'm with you. I watched Michael hit with his son, Mika, and dole out these quiet little tips. And then he was so kind to talk to me for a few questions. And what a thrill to get a chance to talk with him. But you make a good point about who's on the bag because Ryan Harrison is on Sebi Korda's bag, as you put it, and they seem really close. Ryan was ecstatic. Sebi couldn't say enough good things about Ryan Harrison. Ryan Harrison could say enough good things about Sebi. And there are a lot of Americans giving back. Benjamin Kate talking about how Bob Bryant's helping him at Davis Cup and Mike Bryant. So it is a great thing to say. And it's a great point about whether a family member or a non-family member may be the best to have. I guess it depends on the relationship. But enough about that. Let's talk about you. I don't think we've done enough about that. Going through your bio, you've described yourself as the fifth Grand Slam. I like that. I love that. You discovered tennis in the 70s, which was really an incredible time to discover tennis. Your father, Norm, founded the Tennis Nuts, which went all around. You parlayed what you called, I love this, a middling high school career on court and academically into a job teaching tennis after college. You're an insider. You know everyone in tennis. It's incredible. You're an award-winning documentary filmmaker. You called yourself a reluctant writer and the host of an unbelievably great podcast for the last 8 years. But in a wild turn of events, as you wrote, you were the personal racket tech for Andre Agassi in the 90s. Can you please talk about this?
No, I did it for a very short time. Listen, I grew up in Rhode Island. I was a ball kid at the Tennis Hall of Fame. Um, I think my first paid job, other than shoveling snow, was cleaning up the garbage under the bleachers at the Hall of Fame. I hold the Hall of Fame, close to my heart. I'm not happy with them, and they know that. But I grew up in tennis. My father loved tennis. In fact, I have to be, one of the only people in the world that has, a photo of Arthur Ashe and Tim Gullickson, in my bedroom. So, I grew up in tennis. I was just an okay player. I had, I think my best results were I finaled the under 14 Rhode Island grass courts at Point Judith, and I lost to a guy named Dave Gordon, who most famously kicked the field goal that Boston College beat Notre Dame. He kicked like a 52-yard field goal or something crazy.
That
You have
is
to look it up.
awesome.
The guy's father owned the Hartford Whalers, and he would summer in Newport, Rhode Island, and he beat me in the finals of the under 14 grass courts. But I got screwed. The tournament director was the head pro at the Point Judith Country Club. His name was Jacques Folies, and he made me play he scheduled me bad. He made me play like 4 or 5 matches in the same day. It was totally ridiculous.
Oh man.
But the story is I was just an okay player. I went to the University of Rhode Island. I stepped out of tennis for quite some time. My dad ran a trip, okay, to the U.S. Open for like 30 years.
Wow.
Every Labor Day weekend for like the majority of my life, we would jump on a bus with a whole load of people. Sometimes it was like 2 buses of people. And I was at like pretty much every big match there was in the U.S. Open, in the history of the U.S. Open, in that middle weekend. All those matches. Bobo, Zibo, Yanovich, Mackey, like crazy. I saw every match. I saw Brad Gilbert beat Boris Becker on the grandstand. I saw Aaron Krickstein, play Noah. I saw a lot of big matches, and that helped inform my whole life. I left college. I moved to New York City. I got a job teaching tennis at the New York Health and Racket Club at the corner of Wall Street and South Street. And one day I answered an ad that came across the fax machine at the club in like 1997, that this outfit named Jay's Custom Stringing on 51st Street between 2nd and 3rd, we're looking for another body. And that's kind of where it happened. I in 1998, generally speaking, I spent the majority of the year with Brad and Andre, and that was pretty cool. So I mean, I've written about it in bits and pieces, and newsletter that I write sporadically. I've written about some of the stuff I've done. I've tried to keep it in my pocket, but people seem to be quite interested with that. But the other part of the story is that I'm a high school player, and I ended up way on the inside, because when you're doing that job, you have to interact with the tournaments, the tournament directors, the agents, the coaches, the physios, the players. So basically, when I quit that job, I got a job at HBO, and I became a TV producer. It was like going to grad school for me, and HBO still had Wimbledon. So I worked in the graphics room the last year at Wimbledon, and then I started picking up freelance jobs in tennis. I produced features for the USA Network for their US Open coverage. I worked at CBS. I never could find a great lane in live tennis, because I hate being on headset, to be honest with you. Like I hate the rhythm of being in the TV truck. It's like very I hate it, actually. I hate it with everything I got. It takes you time to learn like what you like and what you don't like, and I don't like live TV. Like it gives me anxiety. It's and also being in the TV truck is claustrophobic, and I need to be out in the mix. I can't be in the TV truck.
I
And on
love this.
headset is terrible. So that's the story. That's the story. And then essentially the podcast was a suggestion of a buddy of mine. I was on a 38-week contract with the NFL. I joined the NFL creative team. And a friend of mine, and I was doing a little bit of stuff in tennis. Tennis always kind of kept pulling me back. But one of my buddies was like, "Oh, we should make a podcast that you host." And I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." And And I was in the middle of writing an article for Racket magazine, I think, and I had some interviews set up. I had an interview set up with Jeff Tarango. I had an interview set up with Brad Gilbert. And the longer story shorter is that I could, we conceptualized a format and a good idea for what I wanted the show to be, and we thought it was like pretty good right from the beginning. And generally speaking, it stayed the same all the way through. Like I've got this format that people like. It gives some structure to the interview, and you know, I think between the old show was called Under Review Tennis Podcast, and then I changed it to the Craig Shapiro Tennis Podcast. I think we probably recorded 300 episodes. I don't even know how many world number ones we've had on the show. My goal, generally speaking, is to record 25 a year. Like they're all interview shows. I never pop on and do anything but an interview. And, the sweet spot for me is two a month.
No, that's awesome. I'm so glad you segued into the podcast, and we'll get back to some more about. I'm going to talk about the Craig Shapiro Tennis Academy, but eighth season interview show, as you indicated, wide range of topics. For me, actually made a list of what I love about the Craig Shapiro Tennis Podcast. So this was my list. Number one, you're an insider, but not in a I'm better than you kind of way. I'm an insider and I'm gonna take you inside with me. For example, you have Matt Futterman on the show, and I love Matt. He with the Athletic, one of the best tennis writers, probably one of the best writers. But I've met him at the Miami Open. Super guy. Um, you broke the story as far as I was concerned about the next CEO of the USTA being Craig Tiley. And of course, that was just announced. But I'm just driving along thinking, what just happened here? And it was amazing. So that was one of the reasons I love. Then I wrote hot takes. You've always got an opinion. It's nicely done. It's a positive way. You don't slam people. You're cutting edge. If I want to know about the latest rackets, clothing, strings, it's there. You're funny. You always make it enjoyable for the guest. You're personable. You clearly enjoy chatting with the guests. And the guests are great. Journalist Matt Futterman, Charlie Eckelshire of The Athletic, journalist Ben Rothenberg, Naomi Osaka Book. We both have joined bounces and get past that paywall. Great questions, not surface questions. You go in depth. You're interested in the topic. So that's just some of my list of why I love the Craig Shapiro podcast and why I think people should listen to that podcast over and over again, my friend.
I appreciate it.
Your thoughts on that?
I appreciate it. I'll say what the show isn't. The show isn't. I don't share big bombastic takes. I hate that. I think that when you invite someone onto their show, it's you the intention is to learn about that person, right? And I don't. So if I want to kind of tell somebody what I think, I frame it in a question to kind of do that. And same thing with like kind of inside information. I sort of slide it in. I don't ever, it's like being on a bad date. You tell like if guys with guys with a girl, and he's like dying to tell her what he does for a living. He says, "Well, what do you do for a living?" He's like, "Well, this is what I do for a living." Because he wants to tell you what he does. I hate that. I don't like the Stephen A. Smith style. I'm not interested in doing bombastic things as it pertains to my podcast. That show is respectful. I never ever hammer any athletes. If anyone's gonna get hammered, it'll be some executive doing something mashugana. But generally speaking, I won't do that.
Yeah.
Um, but I like to keep, even the journalists, I like to keep them on their toes. So I'll say to, Charlie Eccleshare, is it true that Mercedes is coming to the WTA before it's announced? And, and he'll confirm that, that hasn't been official, but that's what he's, like I just try to keep everyone on their toes. So I'm
Yeah.
glad you're listening, because sometimes you don't know if people, people don't always like give you feedback. So I do appreciate it, but I like to sort of drop little bombs here and there just to like keep people on their toes.
No, no, I don't have to say this. Not just listening, but I'm very attentive. I will go back and listen back. You did when you were talking to Matt Futterman about so it's the PTPA and the lawsuit. That was the most interesting, in-depth discussion about that topic that I've ever heard. It put everything into to context, and you kind of summarized about the fact that by Australia conceding some things, that was going to affect the other slams. And I thought he's synthesizing this information for us in a way that's digestible because frankly, that's confusing. So
I thought that episode was like cliff notes on that
it
situation
was.
that I think is like a pretty serious situation. For many, many years, there's always been this, you know, odd, odd, odd situation in tennis where the associations are the tournaments, are the association for the players, and the players, by all accounts, have been getting the short end of the stick. You know, it's funny because a big part of a big part of what Justin Gimelstob was trying to do as he was trying to become the head of that was to advocate for the players, and he ended up messing the whole thing up for himself at that time. But you know, the big thing was that the players were not getting their fair. They were not getting represented at the table with the majors with regards to the money split and the associations. So we'll see. But
Right.
I appreciate it. Like I like talking to Matt about the business stuff. I love like the politics episodes.
Yeah, they are. I gotta admit, I love when you interview players too, because yeah, it's just whether you're talking to someone in Italy and the questions could be as simple as, did you drive here? And one of the players, as an Italian player, my mother just dropped me off at the tournament. And I'm thinking, nobody else gets that info. I had no idea his mom was dropping him off at this tournament. It's just
Francesco Passaro.
there you go. It was such a great, funny, like,
Yeah.
I would have not known to ask. It was such a great, how'd you get here? My mom dropped me off and she's going to pick me up. Okay, that's just great stuff. You just don't get that in other podcasts. You don't.
Listen, to quote Mary Carrillo, I'm a curious person. I'm
Exactly.
curious about things, and I want to know. You know, I think that tennis has done a terrible job um, telling the stories of these athletes, where that you would care about somebody who is going to war in the second round that you hadn't heard of. So, I don't think that just going back to back to back to back with live tennis is good enough. I think that even boxing, when HBO had boxing, the features, the stories of the like, you would hear these hard scrabble stories, and all of a sudden you'd watch the fighter and you know about that fighter, and we don't have that in tennis. We do a little bit because social media is such that we have it, but I don't think we've done an adequate job telling the backstories of the players. You turn on the TV and you don't know who the ovas are, right? Everybody says, "Oh, we don't know who this ova. It's just another ova." It's like, well, no, man. I mean, she's got a great story, right? So, like, I
Yeah.
like to. So I hope in some small way that what I do is like sort of collecting the history of tennis.
It's exactly what you do.
Yeah.
One of the things I experienced at the Delray Beach Open is when you interview an athlete that is just on the rise. Like I'll give you Jody McGinley, who has the Changeover podcast. He
They do
was
a
a
good job,
seventh,
those guys.
fantastic. He was a seventh alternate with Liam Draxel. And they progressed in the tournament, I want to say into the semis, and I got a chance to talk with them. And they were so humble and so nice and so thankful. I remember I gave them issues of Florida tennis, which I'm apt to do, and the best example I could say is they said, "Can we keep these?" I said, of course. Whereas
Those
I
guys are
give them
good
to other
dudes.
players. I'm not going to name names, but you know what? They say, I please don't hand me this. I don't want to carry this type of thing. My point being, I'm not knocking any players, but it is nice to talk to a player on the rise like Benjamin Kate, like Jody McGinley, who's doing the best he can out there, Liam Draxel, these young college players, and see what makes them tick and and that's what you bring us.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're
I
welcome.
appreciate it.
You're welcome. So I do want to talk about the Craig Shapiro Tennis Podcast Academy. Now, you did an ad. You've already put up a little shameless plug. You've put up the magazine. You did a beautiful ad here for which I got right here. Um,
Let's see it. Let's see it. Let me
the
see how it looks.
yeah, the curated
So
tennis,
that's the goal.
the golden ticket. So can you break this down for me? The golden ticket versus
So the
the
story
Tennis Academy?
is
Yeah.
no. So the story is that during COVID, um, in sort of like a fit of, I don't know, sort of a fit of frustration and rage, I left the country, and a couple friends, we went to Colombia, and we just started mucking about in Colombia at the back end of 2020. Once we sort of determined that we were going to be all right, we made our way down there, and I used my tennis connections to book tennis, and my friends, Pete and Isabel, they wanted to jump in on my tennis. Like that's my exercise. And I like it a certain way. So they started ruining my tennis practices. And I started screaming at them, and then I'd feel bad. And then I would like kind of work them out and like pick them back up. But we were in like these wild places, man. We were in like Barranquilla, Colombia, and then
Love
we
it.
would we'd be buying lobsters off the beach, and we were living kind of we were doing like we have so anyway. I started pretending that I was the head of a tennis academy that didn't exist, and I would say, no academy has this, you know we go up into the mountains after practice and go in waterfalls, and you know we drink beers at 8 in the morning, whatever it is. Like we were just having the time of our lives in a way, and we were in this picturesque place in Santa Marta, Colombia, and I was, like I said, practicing and getting a lot of tennis in while everyone else was sort of home suffering. So people couldn't tell if it was real or if it was fake, and I'd get people being like, "Man, this is amazing." Like I want to be in this academy. This sounds great. So when everything calmed down, again, very organically, we put together I put together an itinerary in Miami around my birthday, which included, a kickoff dinner at Novecento on Key Biscayne. That was like one of the long time sort of go-to spots during the Key Biscayne tournament. And then the next morning, we practiced at the Ritz, 90 minutes, pros on the court. Everyone broke a great sweat. Then they had a free elective afternoon. That night, we had like a killer dinner at a friend's restaurant. Uh, in Coconut Grove. It was very selfish. It was just stuff that I wanted to do. The next morning, we went out to the Florida Tennis Academy and practiced with Lau Valverde, the
Sure.
University of Miami All-American, the Hall of Famer from Miami, Danny Valverde's sister, or and then everyone jumped in the ocean. We took a food tour of Little Havana, and then the next day we practiced at the Ocean Club on Key Biscayne. We said goodbye. We did it again in Newport, Rhode Island. We did it again in Guayaquil, Ecuador. We did it again in Miami. We did it, and then so basically 2 Decembers ago, um, Jerry Solomon, Yvonne Lendel's longtime agent, was approached by James Dolan to bring tennis back to Madison Square Garden. He said, we're going to bring Alcaraz and Shelton and Pagula and Navarro. What do you want to do? And I was like, well, what do you mean? He said, well, you do whatever you want. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Huh. And I was sitting with a buddy, a British friend of mine, and I said, man, what do you think about this? And so we sold. Actually, I could show it to you. We sold the golden ticket, like Willy Wonka's golden ticket. We sold a $30,000 fantasy camp where our players got to practice at Gordon Ewling's. We did this huge ad campaign too. That was
Oh,
kind of
and I'm a
fun.
memorabilia guy. This is awesome.
Well, uh, anyway, so we had this 3 day super elevated fantasy camp that our
Wow.
players got to practice with Alcaraz on the Madison Square Garden floor. They went courtside. So that was the birth of the golden ticket. So basically now when we're hosting, I just had 8 people in Australia for a series of dinners and tennis practices. We practiced at Kooyong and the Royal South Yarra, which are the two nicest clubs in Australia, really. And then everybody went to the Australian Open. It was a week trip. We just call it the Academy. I just basically took the name and just sort of like co-opted it. We call everything the Academy.
I,
And I'll say to somebody, like, listen, man, if you think this is all right, like you can't be in the Academy. I just took the word. Like anything is the Academy. The
I
Academy is a state of mind. But the Academy is also like a week in Rome, May 5th to the 10th. I already have 8 players booked. We're about let's see, 60. I think we're about 70 days out. It's a series of, like I said, just these badass dinners, practices at the nicest clubs in Rome. Berrettini's club is the first morning. It's called the Circolo Corte dei Conti. It's the Judiciary's club. And these clubs are all right on the Tiber, the Tevere they call it. And then the next day is the Circolo Canottiere Roma, the nicest club in Rome. And then the last day is at sort of like the club for the movie stars in Rome. It's called the Due Ponti Club, and it's got to have 30 tennis courts, pools, paddle, and then we'll go to the night session in Campo Centrale on that Friday night. The next day is Saturday. It's rackets down, no tennis. We're going to take a VIP tour of the Coliseum. We go to this pizzeria called Pizzeria Remo in Testaccio that is magnificent. And then that night we're gonna go to the Tim Van Leer Gallery, Opelka's buddy, and there's gonna be a gallery. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but there's gonna be an art opening that night in Rome. So I'll take everyone there. We'll say goodbye, and that's it, man. We're trying. The Golden Ticket Tennis is committed to providing like what I don't think we've seen in tennis, like just something like super well-rounded, cool, curated tennis experiences. Some are super high end, some are kind of medium end. But that said, like we hosted a day at Columbia University. We took control of Columbia University's courts the day before the U.S. Open began, and we had a Dingles tournament for cash. It was 200 a team. The minimum level was like a 9-0 combined level, so the players were good. Because it's hard to if you were a good player, it's hard to like play a tournament. Tournament starts Thursday. Like,
sure.
what are you gonna do? You're gonna go Thursday to Sunday? Like, nobody can do that. You got to be out of your mind. But in order to like, but people want to like compete and test their level. You can't put a price on that. So a couple of years ago, my great friend and colleague Vicente Munoz and I, we put together this Dingles tournament for cash. We gave out a couple $1,000. I think the winners got 1,000. The semifinalists got 500. Sorry, the finalists got 500, and then 250, 250. Small, but it was cool. And then we had a series of clinics on the other roof. So that's a $200 ticket. So we just trying to find our little pockets of tennis fun, I would say. But the Rome Academy is $7,000, includes 5 nights in the Fendi Daughters Hotel. So it's like that's price to sell. Like we're not trying to.
Sure.
Everything we do is like we're super committed to doing fair business and providing like really over delivering. All my players get gift bags like they're like pro players. We
I
hook them
love it.
up.
I
Yeah, it's
love it.
cool.
You use the word fun. I was going to use the word fun. I want to tell people to learn more at Golden Ticket, Ticket, goldentickettennis.com. And you've already talked about it, but when I read, you could be on the Madison Square Garden floor with Carlos Alcaraz, Ben Shelton, Jess McCool, and Emma Navarro, I just reread it and said, first of all, having grown up in Long Island, New York, just to be on the floor of the Garden would be like Nirvana. And
Bro,
then
it
to
was
be hitting
sick.
with these people would be
No,
unbelievable.
it was the
Um,
sickest thing.
and Justin, you mentioned Golden Ticket Roma. That's coming up May 5th to May 10th, 2026. I
Yeah.
know there aren't many tickets available, but well, listen, I'm gonna jump a little bit here because I promised you and the viewers we've had a good time, but a fun time on the Florida Tennis Podcast. We're gonna step into the world and the mind of Craig Shapiro, in a time machine. You can skip any of these questions you want to skip, but I
Go
just
ahead,
made a
man.
list of the things I wanted to know.
Sure.
Here we go. Number one, most enjoyable guests or a guest, just someone you just like really just had a great time with.
Oh, I don't know.
It
That's
could be
such a
two people,
loaded
could be anybody.
question. Nah, man, I'm so grateful for all my
Okay.
guests. I've never, knock on wood, I've never had a bad chat. People seem to really enjoy Jim Courier when he comes on my show. I think Patrick McEnroe has been like a
Oh yeah.
great guest. But listen, man, I had Virginia Ruzici on my show.
That was great.
Yeah, yeah,
She
yeah, yeah, yeah.
wasn't she didn't she talk about if I'm thinking of the show
Holla.
how right how she became an agent
Yeah.
and how that was
This
like a random dinner. That was a great show.
Virginia
Did she,
Rizzucci. You have to understand, like a lot of people, they want to just hear people they've heard of and stuff.
right.
The coolest shows are the shows that people don't know that much about the people. Like
Yeah.
Tomas Schmid was a great interview. Mark Philippoussis shared some things about his career that he had never shared before on my show. Annika Runa, Holger's mother, is
That
one
was a
of
good
the
show.
that was a big time
Great
show.
show.
The kid Rex Coleman, who just started playing ITFs, who just made Le Petit A, that was kind of a fun show. Um, I grateful for the chats we've had with Dan Evans. I've had him on the show twice.
Big
I
fan of
had
Dan Evans.
Coran Tamute. I've had on my show. I've had a lot of very you know I think amazing chats with a lot of women. I've tried to be a big supporter of women's tennis. I've always viewed women's tennis as by far the most important of all the women's sports. I think that what they do is unbelievable. I've had a lot of guests on my show. It's hard for I really do. I really love every. I've never had a show get cut, like get kicked to the curb. I've never not posted a show.
Most memorable answer or shocking answer, one that had you shaking your head. It could be in a good way, just why I didn't see that one coming.
I think it was Philippoussis who, you know, I think he said that I think he might have lost his Fila deal, and he was very he was very forthcoming about like the money he spent and the mistakes he
Okay.
made. Um, I don't know that. One thing I'm never trying to do is like break a story on the show.
Sure.
The only time I ever really, the show got like real like journalistic attention was I had Stoikovsky on my show and he was like literally in war
Wow.
when the war began.
That's
He
amazing.
he spoke essentially from a bomb shelter.
And
I
you've just
think that
answered
that
another question, by the way, because I was
yeah
going to say, what's the strangest
yeah.
place anyone ever appeared for a podcast for? I'm guessing it's the bomb shelter.
I mean that
That's
that
brutal.
that's that was
Brutal.
almost a different show. Like there was no it ended up becoming a total news interview. There was no talk of any tennis other than what do you think of the Russians on tour? And so
Sure.
we really went down those roads. But I had him on. I had Doug Opoloff on, the dog. So
Sure.
those shows from war I think were quite memorable and poignant. No, I think to be honest with you, like the great shame of the show is that you know hundreds of millions of people, right? Like you want more people to listen to your show, but listen, everywhere I go, I shouldn't say everywhere I go, but usually I people will stop me and say something nice about the show. It's super hard to get people to, take whatever you want to call it, like a high school player seriously. And I don't
Sure.
muck around. I don't do any mucking about on my show. My show is journalistically sound. I think it's cool, but like I don't ever, listen, I mean, I try to find, if I know a guy was a party guy, I might ask him like what was the best player party back in the day,
Sure.
or listen, I had Yevgeny Kafelnikov on my show. I happened to was able to say to him, listen, man, the last time I saw you, you lost a lot of money in Monte Carlo in
Wow.
19, yeah, yeah, yeah. And he was like, that's correct. I remember.
That's correct.
Yeah, yeah. But like because I bounced around, like
Sure.
I was, another funny story that I had Xavier Malisse on my show, and I was in Philadelphia with Pete Sampras, and I was sitting in like a diner, or maybe it was the hotel restaurant, and this like kid with like acne all over his face, this skinny little, he was sitting in a booth behind me eating like a giant club sandwich and fries. And he was saying, like, oh, people think I should be afraid of Pete, and I'm not afraid of Pete. And I was like, wait a second. And sure enough, Xavier Malisse like took Pete into the deep water, and
Wow.
he and Marat got wild cards into that Philly tournament. The Philly tournament used to be they called it the Grand Slam of the winter, right? That was a big tournament, and that was sometimes I can spring a little something on them that that they're not,
Sure.
that they'll be like, oh, like he was there, and that's kind of good.
It's very cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's funny. Xavier Malisse was just at the DBO, and
I
what a
love the
great
guy.
he's a great guy, and he got a good shout out from one of the fellow players about just how pretty his strokes were. Like anybody who hasn't seen Xavier Malisse, he had the most beautiful game. So it's funny you mentioned him. Okay, now we're gonna go a little,
Go ahead.
which you would call maybe rapid fire.
Go ahead.
We're gonna go because favorite tennis publications.
The Second Serve Open, the print magazine Open. The Second Serve is yeah, I'm a contributor to that magazine, or I'm at least listed as a contributor. I'd like to contribute more. I just wrote they just rolled out a digital article about the 25 best
Right.
matches of the 21st century, and I wrote number 6, which was Pete Andre quarterfinal at the U.S. Open, 6-7, 7-6, 7-6, 7-6. I wrote that's just 300 words, but I think the Second Serve and Open which is a part of Second Serve to me, is like the most serious of the tennis publications. The writing and the art
Sure.
direction is par excellence. Next, go. Sorry, I'm taking too
No, no,
long.
you're good. You're good. Favorite tennis writers.
I think I think in no particular order.
No
I
particular order.
love
Just
I love I love Gary Nathan. I love Ben Rothenberg. There's a writer named Jackson Franz who's been he writes for this Substack called Club Leftist Tennis that I think is pretty solid. Those guys are fun. Um, who else do I like?
well, I know you like Matthew Fudder because you and
I like
Charlie
I like
Eccleshare.
Charlie and Matt. I like
Yeah.
Matt for his business acumen.
Right.
I like the job that Charlie and Matt do a lot.
With the Athletic. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And favorite tennis books.
Well, I'm looking around here. I
I mean,
have
I
so
know I mean I know
I
you
have
like Ben,
so
so I got the Naomi Osaka book here. So I'm sure you like that one. And
you know what? I love the David Foster Wallace tennis writing. String Theory is a book I love.
okay.
Andre's biography is really one of the best biographies that has ever been written. I think there's a moment in the book that I was on property for, which is sort
Wow.
of, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Which was a pivotal moment in the story. Save it for another time. But I think
Right.
I think there's a lot of bad tennis writing, to be honest with you. But Michael, was it Michael Musha? What was it? Short Circuit.
Okay.
Short Circuit. That to me is probably like I think I read that book like pillar to post, like over and over when I was like a young teenager.
I'm going to add to that list for me. Winning Ugly by Brad Gilbert is a great book. I do like Steve Flink's take on Pete Sampras. Steve has been a contributor on the show, so those jump out at me as well.
John
And
Feinstein wrote that book. But was it Mushaw who wrote Short Circuit or Feinstein? I can't remember. Sorry.
so, but anyway, there's a lot of great books out there. I like anything by Richard Evans, who I just saw at the Miami Open with his son Ashley. So I like anything by him. But all right, favorite tennis movies.
You know, there was no good tennis movies forever, and then all of a sudden there's been a few. The Borg McEnroe with Shia LaBeouf is good. It's a good movie.
Good call.
I thought that the Billie Jean King movie was good. I really enjoyed that, and I loved in the moment the the King Richard. I thought that was terrific. Full disclosure, my friend Zach Balin wrote that script. I had him on my show. The story of that was great. It was a shame that what happened at the Oscars kind of marred the legacy of that movie, but I thought that was a terrific movie.
Yeah, and we have a good relationship with Rick Macy, and we've kind of got some firsthand knowledge of that stuff. So that's good stuff too. Favorite tennis broadcasters. You may not like to be in the booth, but you've got to have some opinions about who you really love to listen
No, no,
to.
I would love to be in the booth, but I want to get, I would love to be in the booth. I just don't want to be like getting tortured in like, Azerbaijan. Like I don't want to work my way from the bottom. Also,
Gotcha.
uh, no, no, I don't like being in the TV truck.
TV truck.
That's
My bad.
different. The
Okay,
TV
different.
truck is
Okay.
different. Uh, Listen, I think right at this moment in time, the penultimate broadcasters for me, the ones that I want to hear are Andrea Petkovic, Mark Pecci. I think Jason Goodall is tip
All
top.
good.
I think John and Pat. Listen, people want to say mean things about John and Patrick. I don't share. I think Courier has become a great broadcaster. I think Patrick McEnroe is a great broadcaster. Um, I think that I could. This is a subject I could talk about for like a really long time. I think Sam Querrey has distinguished himself as a very, very good broadcaster.
Great, great calls. All right. Briefly, the differences in the slams, in your perspective as an insider, what's it like if you could break it down a little bit for people maybe who haven't been to all of them yet.
Yeah, man, listen, the Australian Open is a dream. It is like one of the great tennis dreams. You can't believe how good it is. It's just magnificent. The city of Melbourne is lovely. The way the money breaks down now is wild. So, you get if you spend $60 Australian, it's like $37 US. It's a dream. You can walk to the tournament down the Yarra River or across town. You can take a tram. The quality of the quality of the experience is par excellence. Wimbledon is it's like going to Disney World for the first time, right? That grass, when you go early and that grass is just you can't believe it. It's literally like driving into Disney World when you're a kid. I love that, and the way that they've slowed down the tennis there has made it like highly watchable. There's nothing like Saturday night in Wimbledon Village when everybody just goes buck wild. There's just nothing like that. There's nothing like being at Wimbledon. I was in Paris from first ball to last. I think probably for the first time in the history. No, you know what? In 2007, I was there for Tennis Channel's inaugural coverage with my brother. We produced and edited the teases for the Tennis Channel's inaugural coverage, and we were there from before the tournament through till the end of the tournament. I think maybe we left like maybe NBC took the coverage the final weekend, but we were there for a really long time. But this year I was there first ball to last. Oh man, give me Paris every day. I'll take Paris every day of my whole life.
Uh,
I think
U.S.
the
Open.
U.S. Open. I think the U.S. Open. Um, you know, I think that Craig Tiley. Need. I think the U.S. Open could use a makeover. It feels to me like it's like attending like a vacation at like an aging resort. Like they need to kind of change the carpet and paint the walls and maybe find like a little bit more of a dignified manner in which to host that tournament. I would love to think about Australia is everyone's having as good of a time as you can have, but there's a dignified manner about how the tournament and the fans how they are, and it's just, and it wasn't just me who says that, it's a lot of people. There's a dignified manner that I would love to see the US Open adapt a little bit more.
Craig Shapiro, choice playing or watching tennis?
I would just say playing until I can't, because I don't think I've got I think I
All
don't
right.
I don't think I've got a lot of great tennis left in me, but yeah, I'd rather play than watch it.
Favorite surface to play on?
That's an unfair question. I like both. I
know.
mean,
Look, I'm not going to give you the fair
favorite
questions all the
surface
time. Yeah.
favorite surface to play on. I think that there was a moment in my life where I would say grass because I serve and volley pretty well, but
Love it.
now I'm not sure.
Okay.
Now I'm not sure.
Favorite racket?
One of the
Go
tenets of the academies are we always will either play on clay or grass, and we'll only play on like sort of famous hard courts.
Oh, that's great.
I don't
Fa
want to take anybody out to just some any stupid hard courts. We don't want to do that.
Favorite racket or rackets over time?
Oh, I think the Wilson Pro Staff 6.1 was like the racket that I played with in high school, and I love that racket. I don't know if I have a favorite racket.
Okay. Favorite strings, tension. What's going on with that?
Whatever's free and whatever's recommended. I'm not a, it's
I
funny.
love
I'm
it.
not a tinker. I'm not a tinkerer. I'm not a
Okay.
tinkerer. Like I feel like I should be able to play with anything. Like I'm not good enough to bitch about anything, and then I bitch about everything. But
Well,
yeah.
your interview with the when you that string expert was really in depth. So I thought you might have been a tinkerer, but that's
Well, no,
interesting.
no, I know all about it because
Yep.
I did that job.
Right. Okay.
No, no, that's Roman. Roman was my
It
boss.
was
That's the
unbelievable. It was
Yeah,
so
but
in
I
depth.
know I know a lot about it, but I don't walk that walk. I
Yeah.
just like throw
Gotcha.
whatever's in the racket and try not to get hurt.
Favorite overgrip.
Same thing, whatever's
Okay.
free. Yeah.
If I'm playing you, are you attacking the
But
net
I
or?
I change them. Let me say though, caveat, like I change them. I
Okay.
don't keep like you don't ever see like a disgusting grip on my racket.
I'm with you
I
on that.
change my grips. Yeah.
I'm playing you. Are you attacking the net or you staying baseline?
No, I attack
Okay. All
nonstop
right.
till the
Favorite
beat drops.
favorite tennis era.
I think for me, I have these great moments of, I was old enough to remember being at the Open and in Philly and in the Masters with my dad and in Newport in the 80s and the late 70s. So like I saw Borg and Vilas and McEnroe and Connors and Victor Amaya and
Wow.
Harold Solomon and Eddie Dibbs and
Love
I
it.
have a
Love it.
very nostalgic memory as a kid of that time when I was in like maybe and then certainly to see players like Motts and Lendl. Like Lendl was my guy. Like I feel like I discovered Lendl. Like I saw Lendl on like Channel 38 in Boston. You know
Love
what
it.
I mean? Like I,
Sure.
I saw him like in a highlight and was like, oh wow, I never saw. I was telling my dad like, oh, this guy's gonna be the guy. And
Love it.
uh, sure enough, we've had him host clinics for us. So it's
Just
like been a thrill.
just a few more because I know I'm over time here, so
You're
just a
good,
few more.
baby. Go ahead.
Thank you, man. Are you wearing sunglasses when you play or no sunglasses?
No, I take them off. I may start the practice with them on and then realize I need to take them off.
Do you miss racket covers? You know, when you could zip your racket in a cover? Do you miss those?
I've told many of my young designer friends that are doing stuff in tennis that they should make a racket cover man pouch that the players all used to put their change and keys in the
Sure.
racket covers. Yeah.
Are you as frustrated as I am with this tennis ball top versus this tennis ball top?
I don't want to talk about balls. Like that's triggering for me.
All right,
All of it
okay.
gets me crazy
All right.
about ball.
We're done. We're done with that.
If you ever watch my Instagram, I go nuts
Okay.
about what's happened to tennis balls.
All right. Um, do you collect any tennis memorabilia? And you
Well,
have
I mean,
anything you want to tell us about? Because I mean, the golden ticket thing was cool already. So,
hold on.
okay.
Let's see. I mean,
Okay. I love where this is headed, my friend.
this may, this is this is the
Yes.
program when Pete played Roger when Pete was still like, old enough to compete
Sure.
from the Garden.
Love that. The NetJets
That's
showdown.
pretty
That's
that's
awesome.
pristine. This may or may not be somebody's racket. I don't know who that could be. AA.
Oh, nice. Are you kidding
Yeah, I don't
me?
know. I don't know who's. I'm not
No.
sure how this got in the house, but
Oh, that's
let's
sweet.
see.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Craig. That's awesome.
Let's see. I have that. What else do I have?
That's
Let
match
me see.
used. Match used. Love
Yvonne.
it. Love it. Love it.
This is
Power tennis by
Lendl.
Lendl. It's great.
This is yeah. I think Yvonne.
Also in real
Yvonne
good
si
condition.
Yvonne. Yeah. This is I had this since I was a little kid,
I
man.
love it. I love
I
it.
save my stuff so
I love it.
you can see. Let's see what else. Let me just see.
I'm loving this stuff.
This
Thank you for
is
sharing.
this is the program for the 1998 Monte Carlo
Oh,
tournament.
nice. That's again in great shape.
No, this is pristine. That's Magnus Larson,
Oh
and
yeah.
you can see, it's like, yeah,
Beautiful.
man. I'm a documentary filmmaker by trade,
Sure,
and
sure.
I collect stuff. So some people may describe me as a hoarder. This is the 1981 program from the Masters,
Love it, man. Borg on the
and
cover. You can't beat that.
but this is like I was at there. I took these out of I took these out of the Garden. This is when I was 6 years old. The 1977 U.S. Open
Look at
program.
that. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I've got a lot of stuff, man. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, we can do just a show on memorabilia. All right. Um, so the best player you've been on court with. Let's start with that. Like the best player you've just been next to. It could be Federer. It could be anybody.
Well, no,
Alcaraz. You go.
I will be writing about. I've never written the story, but I practiced. I had the privilege of practicing with John McEnroe for about 90 minutes.
You win. That's it. I mean, that's
2006, 2015. So John was probably 55, and I'm about 10 years younger than him. So I was 40. You know, I practiced with John. My girlfriend at the time, when I was like couldn't speak after Ed. Like my mind was spinning, and she's like, "Oh, this would have been like had I danced with Beyonce." I understand completely like what you're talking about.
no, I am stunned.
But that was a wild experience. I learned like I couldn't stop like thinking about like his tennis and how it was like it's interesting our sport, like even if you're sitting in the front row until you're on the other side of the net, you don't necessarily can understand what's happening to you, like what that gift is. And John McEnroe at 55 years old was like literally the most gifted. It's artwork what he was doing. It wasn't really tennis. It was a different thing.
Yeah, I could do a whole show on that. I'm gonna because I got so many questions, but um, the best non-tennis player celebrity you've kind of surprised you. You've been on the court and thought, boy, that guy must have played college tennis, or that lady must have, who surprised you?
Timothy Oliphant, the actor, is a good
Sure.
player.
Okay.
Yeah, the usual suspects.
Okay. All right.
There's a I could Stevie Nash is actually unbelievable.
Sure.
That's embarrassing. Stevie Nash actually took up tennis like 5 years ago, and he'll beat most players. He's a 5-0,
It's funny
which is
because
crazy.
I got
Yeah,
a quick interview with Sasha Barkov. Um, he Alexander Barkov just happened to walk in. He's friends with Sebi, and he had a couple of hockey sticks with him. And I said,
yeah.
"Tell me a little bit about hockey and tennis." And he talked a little bit about it. But apparently, I saw something that he's hitting with the Bryans. They said he could probably warm up any player on tour. He's that good. He's got the hand-eye coordination. So,
Oh,
all right,
Barkov,
yeah,
Barkov. Oh, that's
Sasha Barkov,
interesting.
yeah. Loves. He grew up playing tennis. Loves tennis. It is funny when you see a guy that big carrying hockey sticks walking around the tennis tournament. Um, why do you love tennis and what does it mean to you? What has it meant to you in your life?
It's informed my whole life. I think that it checks off a lot of boxes for me. It's it's cosmopolitan, it's international, um it starts fresh every day. The scoring system makes it incredible. uh there's fashion involved. There's there are different ways to win matches. There are different styles. There's different technology. Like, there's no other sport like it. And similar to baseball, somehow like a ground ball to third is still an out. And tennis, it's like we haven't had to change the height of the net or the parameters of the court. And there's a way to sort of measure talent and greatness, the history. I love the fact that the tournaments follow the sun. I love the different surfaces and what that means. I love the names of the players. I love everything about it. I'm very critical about a lot of things, but it all comes from a good place. It's because I want it to be like I want everything to be good.
Vitas Gerulaitis, should he be in the Hall of Fame as either player, contributor, or both?
For sure. My brother did a documentary on Vetus for Tennis
Really?
Channel.
Okay.
That was good. And I think that really, I think Borg and John in particular were like really displeased with the fact that Vetus has not been inducted.
I share your dismay. I'm a huge Vitas Gerulaitis guy. Okay. What is next on your agenda, Craig Shapiro? What's next for you?
Gonna I'm in meetings for a couple of days. I'm
Hmm.
gonna go to the desert on Sunday. We'll be in the desert at least through the first entire week of the tournament, mucking about, uh, doing our work. You know, tennis tournaments are giant business conventions, right? So the Indian Wells is as important. It's interesting. they the tournaments begin in Australia, but a lot of what goes on gets lost in the sauce because it's so far away. So quite often, Indian Wells is where it all starts. That's where everyone kind of gets serious. So we need to be there. We'll be there. I will most likely head to Johnny Levine's tournament at the Arizona Challenger at
Okay.
the back end of the second week of in 2 weeks, and then we'll see about Miami. But we have some things slated, and then we go to Rome, right? So Rome is just down the corner. Rome is the greatest thing of all time.
Love it.
By the way, the best time you'll ever have in your whole life, you come to Rome with me. You've never
I,
seen a better time.
I'm ready to sign up. I mean, where do I sign? I'm ready to go, man. I'm ready to go. You don't have
Yeah,
to sell
man.
me on it. It sounds incredible. So
7,000 bucks.
there you go. There you go. Now I'm gonna steal a little bit of they say imitations is sincerest form of flattery. Craig Shapiro, if you were the tennis commissioner and there were no ramifications to a decision you would make, what would you do? You're on the other side of that question.
I would I would put an ethics commission together that was in charge of not allowing wild cards to be sold, that was in charge of not allowing the money to win when the money is coming from uh, a bad place or arguably bad place. I would, if again, I know that this is a big thing, but I think that, you know, some of the decisions that are getting made, there's no coming back from. Some of the decisions that are getting made are uh, kneecapping what is important. The small tournaments are all gone, and that's terrible. Like we're all products, even like someone like myself, we're a product of a small tournament. Because when you're a kid and you go to a small tournament, you become a fan forever, and that's how it is. So I think that that's the most. I think that we need to. That's what I would do. I would put together an ethics commission that was allowed to like throw tomatoes at whoever was doing like bad things and stop it and stop chasing the money because the money comes. The money comes like where's like Rolex is with us. Like uh you know Mercedes just signed a massive deal with the WTA. Tennis is undefeated. We don't need to be hosting events in places that with empty stadiums because they need a check. Like stop that. Like stop chasing the money and put out the best product. That's where I'm going to stop. But I could talk about this again for a long, long time.
Well, what I'm hearing is you love this game, want to protect this game, want it to be around in its best form forever. That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing
Well,
a
I don't want to
positive
go to
side of it.
also I don't want to do creepy shit. Like I don't want to go to Riyadh for the end of the I don't want to go to Riyadh and I don't want to go to Jeddah and I don't want to I want the South American tour to get poofed up. I want the money to like flow down there. Like let's ride Alex Ayala. Let's ride uh
Sure.
Joan Fonseca. Let's ride the Argentine tennis tradition. Let's ride the Ecuadorian tennis tradition. We don't need to ride these places that are just trying to just kick money out there to put it on their LinkedIn. You know what I mean? I hate that.
Well, I got to say, Craig, I'm so grateful to you on behalf of Adam Ross, on behalf of Florida Tennis for taking the time. I had looked forward to this. I knew it was going to be fabulous. It was beyond my wildest dreams how good this show went. You're amazing. And Craig Shapiro, you are released. Thank you.